And we are live, and you notice I'm not in my office. How about that? And we're early, so we're just going to mix everything super, super quick. And notifications are coming in on my phone, but we're just going to make this work because in the entrepreneur world, that's just what we do. We make it work. So, welcome everyone to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are all around us. And that's what we want to do today, and we've been having some fun with it. So, of course, I would love to have slides, and I would have loved to have been a little bit more proactive in my approach, but sometimes life just doesn't let us be proactive. Ever been there? I'm guessing as entrepreneurs, you're there every day. The best laid intentions, all of a sudden your deadlines are here, and it's like, oh, wait, whoop, whoop, I meant, okay. So, you know what? We just roll with it because that's what we do. If we're going to excel, life's going to happen. Things are not going to work as planned. It's just the way it is. So, what we're doing right now, of course, is talking about money management has gone to the dogs. What better thing can I talk about? So, today I wanted to have some pictures of Bandit, and this one's a really one a little bit more emotional one for me this particular week. And that's okay because we still roll with it. And I'm just so blessed and so grateful that I had 17 years with Bandit. Last week he has gone to his eternal rest. It was time and he was struggling, and that's just not okay. So this is somewhat of a tribute to him as well, but he was up for this week. So, Lord works in mysterious ways, and that's exactly what had happened, but it's his week. So I'll share some pictures here, out there. If anybody's Facebook friends, you probably, especially on my personal side, you'll see some pictures. My husband had put some pictures out there because he was a kind of a unique little character. And the reason why I say that is he rode motorcycles. It's crazy not rode motorcycles. He loved to ride motorcycles. He'd get mad if you didn't take him. It's pretty cool. So my husband had started him out when he was a puppy, riding him on the motorcycle with him. And every time Tony approached a bike, he had to be on with him. He's like, okay. And it was really cool because we got to share, he got to have one last ride the other week when Tim was home, and he got to actually ride the big bike instead of the little bike. So we have some pictures out there on Facebook. You guys are welcome to check it out. But it kind of makes it unique. And somebody made a comment to us like, he is super, super trusting. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But we thought about it, and he's been one of the characteristics about Bandit that was always so cool was the fact that he was what I dubbed my little social butterfly. I never had to worry about who was coming in because he was my peacemaker. He was the one that would welcome anybody, four-legged, two-legged, it didn't really matter. He would welcome them into quote unquote the pack. So when we had guest fur babies visiting us, and even when Winston came along and Bear came along, and like even Gizzy, he welcomed in because he was a few years old when we got Gizzy and adopted him from the shelter. He was our come on, let's come join us. He was the peacemaker. He was the one that would go in. I seen him walk into one of the ones we were kind of babysitting there for a while, the extra little fur-legged one that we had. Bandits in the cage with him, pretty much telling him, come on, come out. And so that's kind of where, and I was reading, as I said, I've been reading How to Have a New Year by Friday, and just kind of talking about this. And he equates this particular personality to an Irish setter. Well, I've got to bring it into my world. So this is our Bandit. And it was really interesting when I thought about it. We have 4 dogs, and we have 4 very unique personalities that actually fit into these personality types. So it's been kind of fun to look at it. But he was always, that's one of the biggest characteristics with Bandit, is he wanted to be your friend. He wanted you to figure out. Now, he had no problems telling you if you were doing something he didn't like. However, he was the one that it would always herd everybody together. He is a herding dog. He's got that blue heeler in him. He was the ankle biter when we first got him because he had to herd everybody. And of course, Kyle was like 2, maybe 3, something like that. He was little. He's a little guy. Now he's taller than me, but anyhow, little guy. And Bandit would herd him. He used to drive him nuts because he would bite his ankle. They say ankle biters for a reason because he's trying to herd you. So he's nibbling at you, trying to push you. If we were not out into, like, if we were at camp, and when Bandit's favorite place was over at camp, and if we'd be out in the fire and somebody kind of stepped away from that, he was there herding them back. He would run and bring them back. It was really interesting. I watched him do that with Kyle so many times. Kyle would kind of start wandering a little bit, and if he thought he went a little too far, he would start running in like a circle around him, and he would be closing the circle. It was really, really cool to watch, and it really was interesting. But that was his personality. That was what he did. He was very loyal, and he was like, you got to bring the family pack back. Members getting lost here. We got to go bring them back. And he would go do it. And as I said, he would welcome anybody that came into our pack with no problem. So, how does that affect? So, I'm just going to share a little bit because I've been kind of sharing the pros and cons of this particular personality, which really fit into what Bandit kind of did. So, in Kevin Liebman's world for Have a New Year, are you an Irish setter? Or in my world, are you a bandit? Pros of this type of personality, they are really, really good at administrating and very diplomatic. They actually, all right, there we go. So pros about that. So they want to keep peace. They want peace. They want to figure out how to keep the peace. And they're very objective when they start solving problems. They're easygoing. They've got a great personality. Everybody loves Bandit. One of the first things that everybody said about Bandit when they first met him was he smiles. And he did. He smiles. It was really, really cool. And in fact, his last picture is him smiling. So my last memory of him is him smiling in my lap. It was, and I'm like, you know, that is him. Very, very pleasing. He everybody just loved him. Yeah, that was just his personality. He's very patient. You know, he was very welcoming. He was good at, he sat outside the door and was waiting for Bear to kind of get acclimated a little bit. He was sitting there with me as we were waiting for him to kind of adjust. Very adaptable. He just went with his surroundings. He was like, "You want to go for motorcycle ride? Great, let's go." He didn't care where he was going. Let's go for motorcycle ride. He did like to take that a little bit further, but that's just what he did to do. He wasn't real impulsive in his decisions. And that's kind of what this Irish setter, this is kind of what this personality does. So for those of you that kind of relate to this personality, and you're going to stick to the end of the project, you're going to get it done. It might take you 16 years, but you're going to get done. So be thinking about that. But of course, with every pro, there is a con. And what are some of those cons? Well, they don't really like conflict. So that's a problem. And sometimes that comes across with lack of energy because you're like, well, I just don't want the conflict. I'm just not going to do it. So it almost kind of appears to be a lack of enthusiasm. It probably isn't, but that's where, you just try not to make waves. And it's really hard sometimes to make a decision because you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to disappoint anybody. You want the peace. You want everybody to get along. Well, even in your money, are you wanting it? Can you make that decision? Because sometimes you got to make tough decisions. And sometimes it's hard because you're trying to get all the information in there. Sometimes it's hard to get motivated on this Irish setter, on this bandit. Sometimes, because he'd be content just going with you. It's good. So sometimes the goals, it's hard to get them set and move towards. You can move towards them. That's great. You'll stick to it to the very end. The problem is you've got to get started. You got to get started. So those are some of the things when you're thinking about this personality that come to play. So let's take it and let's pivot it. Let's think about how does this approach when it comes to money? Well, let's think about it. You want to make sure everything goes. So very often this personality goes, oh, well, great. This one's better. You told me this one's better to do. I'm going to manage my money this way. Oh, wait, this works for you? Great. I'm going to try this one. Great. Anybody relate? So you guys know my deal. We have got to have a system in place to manage our money. End of story. Which system is that? You guys know my answer to that. It's the one you're going to use. The only problem is you have to try to use like 17 of them to figure out which one you're going to use. Often this personality, well, let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Let's see how it works. That is never going to work. You got to pick something and go with it within reason. You're going to have to make some of those decisions. And that happens with the money management. You may have 14 systems and not really use any of them because you just keep trying the next new option because it's worked for so and so, or it's worked here, or this is positive here. So sometimes it's hard to take a step back and say, all right, let's evaluate quickly, relatively. Let's see what the pros and cons are of each individual option, make a decision, and then move forward. That is difficult for this person at times because you just don't want to offend anybody. You just don't want to. So that tends to be a little bit of an issue. And sometimes if you don't want to offend them, you just don't want to deal with it, guess what? You just don't do it. That's not good either. Because we've often talked about a confused mind does nothing. And that doesn't work either, as we're so that things to be thinking about, things to be going with. So this is what I want you to think about when you're managing money. This is a great option because you want to make it right. You want to get it done. But you might need that little bit of a Great Dane. You may, the German Shepherd and Mr. Bear coming around and say, you know what, just get it done. So think about that as you
You've got to pick a system. We've got to have a system in place. What is that system? If you're really not sure, talk to the experts. If you guys want to talk about QuickBooks, you guys know. Give me a call. We will have a conversation. Go to chatwithjanet.com. Easy enough. Grab a chat time that's convenient for you, and I will give you pros and cons. You guys know me well enough. I will be straight up and honest with you whether I think this is a good choice for you or not. I've had the pleasure, or whatever you want to call it, I work with a lot of clients, and each and every one has unique needs. You have a unique need. If QuickBooks not that need for you, I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to give you pros and cons of things that I've used. Take advantage of the expertise I've used on a lot of systems over my 20-year career in corporate and my going through. You guys know I'm techie. Not as techie as I used to be, but I'm pretty techie. And I want to use the system to its fullest ability. There might be some things that we might have to play with in the box. But remember, my box doesn't ever have square corners. We're going to make it work for you. But we might need to tweak a few things. We can do that. And I'll let you know if QuickBooks is an option. Some people, QuickBooks isn't the option. A lot of people, it is the option. And for those of you that have chosen to use QuickBooks, let's use it to its fullest potential. If you're not really sure, you want to have that conversation. And you're an Irish setter because you just want to figure it out. You know you got to, but you're not really sure how to do that. Reach out, have a conversation. Let's figure this out and get it going. Because Irish setters and bandit were fabulous to be around. That's wonderful. But sometimes in business, we got to make sure we have all those pieces put into place. And we're good with that. We want to be decisive in certain things. And when it comes to your money, you've got to be decisive. You've got to know where your money is going so you can decide where it's going to go. And that's what I want to leave you with here as I am traveling. I'm actually on a trip here, heading in for some professional development myself for tonight and tomorrow. And the gang is all at home, and my family's in charge of them. I get a night off and a day off. But as I said, take a step back, think about it a little bit, and see if that personality resonates with you. Make a decision, figure it out. Because you know what, this personality lends well for itself. And we all have all of these personalities somewhere in us. Some are just a little bit more predominant than not. And this whole segment in the month of June is just to kind of share what some of the pros and cons are. Because I'll guarantee you, even just with money management, it's how you connect with others. So the more you understand pros and cons and you can see that coming out, the better you can build a relationship, whether it be with others or whether it be when it comes to managing your money. Have a great day, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next week where money management continues to go to the docs. Take care.